What is up, Lost Tribe? This week we have a certain fan favorite quarterback coming back, and we're going to talk about him. Stay tuned for our Week 13 fantasy show.
Could one of y'all pass the gosh darn rock? Hey yo, I'm trying, I ain't lying, and hosting this will be Brian.
Yeah.
Posting like Kobe Bryant,
Yeah.
flying to see the pie.
Yeah.
Hit the hezzy, we got Jesse, opinions get kinda messy. A fan of out of lefties, from football to racing jet skis. He go silly when he go deep, sheesh, is Zach Zeman. Teaming up with Jack, we stack the whole team, man. Pass the rock, don't stop the shot clock.
Woo.
Smack the slap shot, come on, now let's talk. Pass the, yo partner, pass the rock, for real.
Oh, man. It feels so good being able to hear our names in that theme song now, week in and week out. I'm Zach. This is Jack. Jack, how are you doing this fine Wednesday evening?
I'm doing great. It'll never get old hearing our names in that song. And, the only thing that I disagree with that you've said so far is I'm not sure that this quarterback is such a fan favorite, but he's a human being. He's a person that is going to be playing NFL football this week.
He's certainly one of the quarterbacks in the NFL. I can tell you that.
Oh, my Lord.
Well, I have to ask, we're getting down to, the end of the season. We're really starting to think about playoff position in our fantasy leagues. Jack, how are you doing in your fantasy leagues? And are any of your teams going to be in the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, I had a great week this past week. I had my first 3-0 week in a long time, so that felt really good. I know, right? Round of applause.
Congrats.
I in my dynasty league, I won after selling some of my win now players because I was on a 3-game losing streak. So, things like that seem to happen to me all the time. You never know, but it's pretty good. We're looking pretty good. I think I've got 2 teams that are in the playoff picture right now out of the 3. And then the other one, there's an outside shot, but probably not likely. But I'll take 2 out of 3. I won't complain about that. How about you?
I personally had another great week overall. I went 4-1. The one league that I lost, I got absolutely smoked. I put up like 120, and the guy put up like 189. And I was just like there's no way I can compete with that like week to week. That was insane.
Yeah.
Pretty much it was. Like, that guy had Josh Jacobs, and that's pretty much it.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Playoff-wise, 2 of my leagues are already locked into the playoffs, 100% chance. I have 2 others that are, like, they have routes to the playoffs. They're not eliminated yet, but they both require a lot of luck, a lot of praying, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears going into how I pick my lineups. We will see how those teams go. And then I have one that's it's our staff league. It's pretty much a watch. It's a watch. No. It's over. I'm literally it's a 12-man league, and I'm in 10th place. So I'm just gonna try to avoid last place, and I think we'll be okay.
Hey, don't worry, I'm in 9th in that league, so we're in the same boat.
Yeah, we're not doing so well. But what could probably help us and our other teams down the stretch is some waiver wire recommendations, hopefully to fill out the bench for the rest of the season into the playoffs. Jack, who are you looking at for your roster?
Yeah, so I mean, this is my first guy, a guy that I literally didn't hear of until like this past week, and I had no idea who this guy is, but he's got one of the best football names I've ever heard, and that is Zonovan Knight of the New York Jets. That is a fun name. And his nickname is Bam, by the way. Bam Knight. Bam Knight. What a guy.
Zonovan Bam Knight. This is an all-time football name.
Special.
All-time football name.
Like the football name. But he actually had a really good game on the field this week. He had to play to back up the name, over 100 all-purpose yards. In his NFL debut, he came in because both James Robinson and Michael Carter went down, and he was the emergency back. Played well. I think he's worth a roster spot. I mean, at this point in the season, you're really going for guys that are dart throws off the bench and that are hopefully going to end up being insurance policies. So if you were a team that was using Michael Carter or James Robinson at this point in the season, I think Zonovan Knight is definitely a worthwhile add. He's only rostered in 20% of leagues. And literally all 20% of that increase came this week. So because of course it did.
Yeah,
but I think he's definitely worth an ad. If you need some running back depth, if you want to take a dart throw on a guy that had a pretty solid game as a rookie, might as well. Zonovan Knight, football guy.
And you mentioned, you want to look for guys to be insurance policies. There is no better free agent insurance policy back right now than Samaje Perine, my first waiver wire guy. He's still on over 50% of rosters, even after being added by 42.3% of rosters this week. So if you can get him, absolutely pick him up. He is the best insurance back. He's Joe Mixon's insurance back, and we know he's dealt with a few bangs this year. He was out for a game or two recently. And those 2 games, he had 2 amazing performances these past 2 weeks. And if you're that short on running back where you might need to consider starting him, I absolutely wouldn't, though. He's at most going to be probably like a 3rd down back right now with Joe Mixon coming back. He'll see the field, but not nearly enough to make any big splash unless they somehow use him in the red zone, which, again, I doubt they will because he's good. He clearly has shown that he has talent, but he's not Joe Mixon. But other than that, absolutely, if you need an insurance back late in the season for Joe Mixon, who you might have a concern or two about, this is the guy. And hey, you never know if you're in the championship and it happens to be a Week 18 championship. You have one of those leagues that goes a little bit long. And let's say the Bengals lock up a playoff position, Joe Mixon might be resting, and Samaje Perine is going to be a league winner.
Yep. No, you're right. It's
never
totally
know.
possible. Yeah, no, totally great insurance policy. And I mean, we've seen what he's done the last couple of weeks without Mixon. So, I mean, even if maybe Mixon misses another game this week, definitely.
Oh,
he's
yeah, no.
You got to get him in your lineup for sure.
If Mixon misses this game this week, I would absolutely consider starting him. And
I would start him 100%.
Yeah,
I would consider it. That would be a no-brainer.
I would say without Mixon, his floor is RB2.
Because I mean, especially combined with the receiving ability, I mean, for sure.
Oh yeah. Certainly talented, but it looks like you have another running back that you want to talk about.
I do. And this is another sort of injury replacement insurance policy guy here.
Yep.
We saw Travis Etienne go down this past week for the Jaguars. It looks like it looks like there's a good chance that he comes back this week, but if he does not, JaMycal Hasty is the guy that you want to pick up because he came in last week when Etienne went down, had a very good game, especially in the receiving game. I think he ended up with 70 receiving yards and a touchdown receiving. So he was very good in the receiving game, also solid on the ground. And he's only rostered in 8% of leagues. So if you're an ETN owner, if you're an owner of any of these running backs that have gone down with an injury recently, JaMycal Hasty, very good insurance policy.
Yeah, I like that. I really do like that. But I mean, I want to stick with those Jaguars though, because my second guy is also a Jaguar. We're talking about, I mean, the Jaguars did impress a lot of us, this past week with their performance. But I'm going with formerly the hardest worker of the Raiders, as said by Derek Carr, Zay Jones. He has somehow quietly been averaging 12.4 fantasy points this year. He has legitimate flex upside, and he's only rostered on 46% of leagues right now after this surge in interest. So definitely a boomer bust guy because his scoring is all over the place. But to average 12.4, that's really good for boomer bust. Usually when you see boomer bust, you see these guys averaging 7 or 8 points and having 2 games that are in the 20s. This guy's all over the board. You never know what you're going to get with Zay Jones. One thing I do like is that he's been targeted at least 3 times in every single game. They are using him. There's no doubt that they're using him. And again, there's legitimate flex upside that we are finding here in week 13. Like that is not normal. You do not find a guy you could actually consider a flex. Would I start him? Probably not. You should have a guy who's better than him on your team. But if injuries are killing you, legitimate flex option, which is crazy to say in week 13 that we are finding a flex option on waivers that I would actually start if my team was injured.
Yeah, and I mean, look, we're talking Trevor Lawrence combined with that is playing. His football right now. I mean, Trevor Lawrence has been incredible the last few weeks, and this is his second receiving target. I mean, especially if ETN misses a game, that's another mouth that's not in the lineup. I mean, this is a guy that's going to get targets from a quarterback that's been playing like a borderline top 10 guy recently. I definitely worth a pickup. And potentially flex consideration.
Yeah, I never would have thought I'd be saying that Zay Jones has upside, especially in
Nope.
week 13, right before the
Hey,
playoffs.
the
I
hardest
actually
worker in the league. The hardest worker
hardest
in the
worker in
league.
the league. Hardest worker in the league. I actually both of my guys, this is probably the first week in a while. Both of my guys, I actually did pick up and put on a roster. I actually did. I put them on a roster this week. Um,
Wow.
yeah, no, I don't know if you can
No.
say the same for your guys because it's not every week that I actually do pick them up.
I no, yeah, I know. I do have Zonovan Knight stock. I don't have any JaMychal
Mm,
Hasty, but I do have
okay,
Zonovan
all
Knight.
right. Hey, I mean, I appreciate the transparency, but I did pick both
Yep.
of these guys up and actually put on my roster. This is a bet that I am actually going to see through it with myself. But moving on, mensch or bench. Do we like the matchup? Do we like the points? Will we mensch them? Will we bench them? So starting off mensch or
Yeah.
bench, we have one Courtland Sutton going to visit Baltimore this week. He is projected 13.4 points. Jack, what are your thoughts on Courtland Sutton?
God, I hate it. I really hate it. I don't think he's going to do very well this week. Russell Wilson has not been good this season.
Yeah.
Courtland Sutton, as a result of Russell Wilson's struggles, has not been good this season. And now we're putting him in a matchup against Marlon Humphrey. So that can only go so well. I'm going to bench Courtland Sutton if I can. Now, I have a league this week where I actually might be starting Courtland Sutton, which is very concerning. But if you can help it, I would bench him.
You know who you should start in his place? Zay Jones.
I'm thinking about it. I am thinking about it.
You might have to. That might. You might have to start Zay Jones in that situation.
I was able to land Zay Jones on that team, so I am thinking about that. That's a possibility.
Okay. I'm definitely in agreement with you. We do not know if Courtland Sutton did or did not attend Russell Wilson's birthday party recently, because only half the team apparently showed up to that, according to multiple reports.
Which, by the way, that report was framed so badly. I mean, do you expect the whole 53-man roster to be at his birthday party?
Weirdest headline I've ever seen, honestly. Like,
so strange.
Only Russell Wilson could have that headline. Only him.
Yeah.
But speaking of which,
exactly.
Yeah. Speaking of which, though, he's the main reason why I'm absolutely benching Courtland Sutton. I see no need to really start him. 13.4 is way too high for any player on a Russell Wilson-led offense.
Mm-hmm.
This team struggles to put up 18 points a game. Like, that is is pathetic. This offense sucks. The defense, there is some upside, especially with like Surtain on that roster, but I will actively try to avoid watching the Broncos at all costs. So give me Courtland Sutton with the under. I do not trust Russell Wilson whatsoever.
Yeah.
But moving on to the game that I think everyone's going to tune into at some point. We have Dameon Pierce taking on the Predator himself and his Cleveland Browns. Dameon Pierce has had a very up and down season. You know, we all thought he was going to be the next running back stud, the next big player out of Houston, fantasy wise, and then he's slowly fallen off a little bit. Right now, he's projected 14.5 against the Cleveland Browns. Jack, what do you think about this?
Yeah, this is such a weird one. Like you mentioned, he's been super up and down the season. The last 2 weeks have been complete stinkers for him. He's had like 3 and 4 points. So I understand a lot of people's hesitations on Dameon Pierce right now, but I think he's too good to keep this up. And I think that the Browns defense is a good matchup for him. I don't think the Browns run defense is very good. And I think that I'm actually going to lean towards the bench here. I think this is the week that Dameon Pierce breaks out of his struggles, gets back to the guy that we were seeing more earlier in the season. And, you know, I just, every part of me wants the Texans to beat the crap out of the Browns this week. So I'm going to sort of will it into existence. So let's bench Dameon Pierce.
I definitely like the manifestation here. I think we all want to see Dameon Pierce succeed. I think we all want to see him do well. Like, like the story of just, like the 3-headed rookie running back like class coming out with Breece Hall, Dameon Pierce, and now the clear rookie of the year, Kenneth Walker.
Well,
You know,
Chris Olave might have something to say about that, but
Chris Olave's up there, but I really think
Yeah.
Kenneth Walker will probably win it. But
No.
just like all three looked like great running backs beginning of the season. Brees Hall is done. Kenneth Walker is still good, but he's not like an elite fantasy option. Like he's good
he's
though.
pretty
Like,
good.
He's
He's
pretty
pretty
good.
good. He's an RB2.
Oh yeah, he's an RB2. But I'm saying like
Yeah.
like we were all thinking like, oh, he's a league winner. He's not a league winner, but he's close.
Getting a consistent RB2 off waivers can be a league winner.
That's true. That's true. It could be.
I mean,
But then you just have Dameon Pierce here, who just he's fizzled out, which is like so weird that he went from it was literally like an arc, like he shot up and then he just slowly petered down to now where he's at right now. The Browns do have Myles Garrett at the very least. I'm just hesitant. I don't know if he's going to be able to hit 14.5 despite the defensive struggles of the Browns. I think I might actually be benching. I might be benching Dameon Pierce here, just because it's just been weird. He hasn't been getting the yards. He hasn't been, putting up the production. It just hasn't been the same since earlier this year. And unfortunately, if the trend continues, it's not going to happen this week. This is the week for it to happen. I'd like to see it happen, but nothing's really convinced me recently that it will. And even if he does get like 8-9 points, it's not going to be enough to really make a difference in your league. So it's like I'm gonna go with the bench, but I would like to see a bounce back week from him. I'm in his.
He's due. He's had too many bad weeks in a row. He's too good to be playing this bad.
I want to agree with you. I want to say that Dameon Pierce is due, but he's already had those due-ish weeks. He already had those big weeks in the beginning of the season. Now it's just, I feel like now we're seeing what type of running back Dameon Pierce might end up being in the pros, which is a solid all-around back with true potential, but may never reach it fully, especially fantasy-wise. Like, I like the kid. I think he'll be on the Texans for a while, but he won't be like this huge star we all thought he was going to be for like 4 weeks.
I think we're gonna have to agree to disagree here. I think Pierce.
No,
I think
fine.
Pierce. I think Pierce. I think he still absolutely has that upside. He's explosive.
No,
he's an
does.
explosive running back, and he's the focal point of their offense.
Mm-hmm.
So I think no matter how bad the Texans are, he's gonna have that upside week to week.
Look, we will talk about his teammate a little bit later on anyway, and we'll talk about who the focal point of the offense is then. I don't know. I mean, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about the other guy. But first we have a matchup against your Steelers. The Steelers are going to visit the Atlanta Falcons, and we are talking about former league-winning running back Cordell Patterson going against the Steelers, projected 10.9. Basically 11 points this week. Jack, how do you feel about Cordell Patterson?
I'm leaning towards the bench, and I'm going to be this might be a little bit biased as a Steelers fan, but I also think that this Steelers defense has gotten significantly better since the return of TJ Watt all around. TJ Watt just impacts the game in so many ways. He confuses defenses. He confuses offenses. Other teams have struggled much more against the Steelers team in general ever since the return of TJ Watt. And I think that's a trend that continues, and I'm going to lean towards the bench on Patterson.
Look, I don't know if TJ Watt is confusing defenses or offenses. You honestly just confusing.
He's confusing me. He's confusing me.
No, honestly, you are just very confusing because it seems like you're really drinking the black and gold Kool-Aid right now, which I don't see why you are. I don't.
Steelers country, baby.
They're not doing anything. I don't know why you're doing this, but I do have to agree. Cordell Patterson is absolutely a bench for me. Just has not put up any worthy production. I wouldn't even consider him for a flex right now. He just hasn't put up the numbers to really back up any claims. The Falcons have really liked to spread the ball around. They don't have one guy they lean on much. Like Kyle Pitts is gone, but his position was irrelevant to the team, honestly. They do running back by committee. Marcus Mariota can run. They have Drake London. Like, they have options on offense, and they use all of them to a certain extent. So even Cordell Patterson,
That's one of my biggest complaints about the Falcons offense, that they don't use their best weapons enough. I mean, they love to use
No.
random guys.
No,
They
they
won't give
certainly
Drake
don't
London
use
enough touches,
they
or
certainly
Patterson.
don't use their best weapons enough. But what I'm saying is they use everyone on their offense, so everyone has a role, which leads to less fantasy value.
Mhm.
We're not talking
Yeah.
about the Falcons offense in terms of like how they win football games. We're talking about the Falcons offense on fantasy value and how we can win using their skills.
Yeah.
And then if they don't win for us, we complain about how bad that player is. It's how it works.
I mean, yep, but I think it's problematic for both real life and for fantasy. I mean, these are guys that should be getting touches. It hurts the team's win percentage in real life, and it hurts your fantasy team if they're not giving their best players the ball. So it's a lose-lose situation both ways, in my opinion.
That's fair. I mean, that's certainly a more interesting take than I expected from you.
What's that supposed to mean?
Mr. Gold Kool-Aid talking about the Falcons. It's only because it's probably only because they're your opponent of the week. Honestly, you're probably just thinking about them so much.
Oh my god.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, my Eagles play the Titans. I'm definitely thinking about the Titans team, but I mean, the Falcons seem to be rent free in your head right now with how they're run.
Well, we'll get into the Titans a little bit later. I'm excited.
I
see
know
what
we
you
will.
gotta
I
say
know.
about our guy there.
All right. I know. And I mean, we'll see. But yes, Cordell Patterson, he hasn't put up huge production. He's just been, whatever. He's a bench running back. I'm not starting him. He's on the bench.
Mhm.
Jack, who is our last guy for Mentor bench right now?
The last guy that we got here, a guy that was traded the trade deadline, has been very well. He played very well in his new home. That is Jeff Wilson Jr., who is going against the team that he got traded from, the San Francisco 49ers.
Ooh.
So that's going to be, in my opinion, the game of the week. I'm so excited to watch that game.
Mhm.
And I'm just very interested to see how much the Dolphins use Jeff Wilson in this game and against his former team and what he's able to do with those touches. So what do you think? Jeff Wilson against the 49ers.
Oh, man, the only thing with me is that the last time the 49ers made an impression on me was that curb stomping of Arizona on Monday Night Football. I don't think that the 49ers defense is as good as what they looked like that night. Because again, that's the last Niners game I've watched. I didn't watch the game they played this week. I don't think that team is as defensively as great as they look these past 2 weeks. I know that they shut out the Saints, but that is the Saints. I think Tua and Mike McDaniels will give the ball to everyone. I know Tyreek Hill will get a good amount of balls thrown his way. I know Jalen Waddle will have just enough production to make him still fantasy relevant because that's pretty much what he's been doing these past couple of weeks. But I can definitely see the run game being a factor, and I actually like the mensch for Jeff Wilson Jr. as a flex option. I think he's actually a pretty good flex option here. Especially since isn't it like a 405 game, 425 game?
Yeah.
So flex does make sense here. It's not a 1 p.m. game, so flex definitely makes sense here.
Right.
He's played really well in this system. It's very similar to how to the Niners system. We're going to be basically seeing two of the same system going against each other, and Mike McDaniels has definitely changed it a little bit from what the Niners have. So I think McDaniels might have the slight edge there. I think he'll be able to use all of his players effectively. I think all of them I'd probably start on a fantasy team anyway. So give me the mensch for Jeff Wilson Jr.
I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to lean towards the bench on Jeff Wilson. And
You
honestly,
no, wait. Before you start, I know why you're disagreeing. You
No.
love the Niners. You love the Niners. That's
that is true.
Just say that you love the Niners. Just say it.
I do love the Niners. It is very
exactly
true. But
don't listen to a word he says.
But there's a good reason for this bench, and that is because these two teams know each other better than probably any other pairing of two teams in the league. The Dolphins are basically a copy of the 49ers. I mean, they have their coaching staff, they have their running backs, they have the same scheme. They know, and I think because of that, the Niners, I think, will be well prepared to face that offense because it's what they see in practice every week. So I and especially with Jeff Wilson, who 3 weeks ago they were seeing in practice every week. I think that they're going to have good ways to. I mean, D'Amico Ryans is one of my favorite defensive coordinators in the league. I think he'll have a very good game plan. I think this game is going to be a complete chess match, and honestly, in a game that some people might expect to be high scoring because of two very good offenses, I think it's actually going to be a pretty low scoring game, and will be a bit of a chess match between these two coaches trying to crack the other's defense. And because of that, I'm going to take the bench on Jeff Wilson. I just think that the Niners know him too well and will find a way to stop him.
I think you're honestly underrating McDaniels as a coach right now. He's easily a coach of the year candidate right now.
He is. He's awesome.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, they're not. I don't see the Dolphins as carbon copies of the Niners system. I see them as their own team with their own identity and their own play scheme. Because the difference with the Niners versus the Dolphins actually have more than one wide receiver you can actually trust throwing the ball to.
Oh, no. The Niners have more than one receiver you can trust throwing the ball to. Are you kidding? They've got Debo, they've got Ayuk, they've got Kittle. McCaffrey might as well be a receiver. I mean, like, they can throw it to a ton of guys.
All right, you know what? That's fair. You got me right away. I forgot about Ayuk for a second there. But what I'm saying is the talent is definitely better overall in Miami than it is in San Francisco. Let's all be real, right? Like, I would say Tyreek is definitely better than Debo. I would say that Waddle is better than Ayuk, and I would say that Tua is better than Garoppolo.
But here's what I'm trying to get at is that if the Dolphins are going to win this game, it's going to be because Tyreek beats the defense, or because Jalen Waddle beats the defense, or because both of them beat the defense. It's not going to be Jeff Wilson.
Not going to be Jeff Wilson. Yeah, that's true.
I think if there is a part of this Dolphins offense that gets shut down, it's going to be the run game, and it's going to be Jeff Wilson, because that's what the Niners are so familiar with. It's also the main part of the Dolphins offense that is literally just a copy of the Niners is the run schemes. I mean, like, the Niners know this run scheme like the back of their hand. They know Jeff Wilson like the back of their hand. For the matter of fact, they know Raheem Mostert like the back of their hand. It's the exact same thing. I think they're going to shut down the run game, and if the Dolphins win this game, it's going to be because of Tyreek and Jalen Waddle.
All right. We will agree to disagree on Jeff Wilson Jr.'s fantasy value this week, but I mean, I definitely like what you're saying as well. Like, I get where you're coming from. I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. It's not just because I love the Niners.
No, it partially, it really is just because you love the 49ers so much. That's why you know so much about these teams. You just love the 49ers. Like,
you can't tell me they're not incredibly fun to watch.
And I'm guessing that David's in your ear about the Dolphins too. So
yeah, he's talking to me.
Yeah, of course he is. I'm not surprised. Moving on to our over/under for our point spreads. Do you think the players are going to do better or worse than their fantasy value? Pretty similar to the previous section, honestly. Just looking at points alone, though. Not if we would start them or not. So first, we have Brandon Cooks going against the Cleveland Browns, the Texans teammate we refer to, someone who I think is another important part of the Texans offense. He is projected a low 9.6 points going against the Browns. Jack, what are your thoughts on Brandon Cooks?
The only reason to consider this being an over is how low the point spread is. I mean, 9.6 points for Brandon Cooks just feels very low. It feels a little bit disrespectful. But when you think about how awful the Texans quarterback situation is, it sounds like we're getting another Kyle Allen game this week.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Is like, exactly. I mean, like, why are we watching Kyle Allen play football in 2022?
Should be Davis Mills. He's better.
It should be. I mean, not even that Davis Mills is necessarily better, but at least he's younger. So, I mean, like, you just make sure you know what you have in him. But I think I'm going to go under, which is like so weird because we know Brandon Cooks is a talented receiver and 9.6 points feels low for him. But I just can't trust Kyle Allen to get him the ball, like, at all. I mean, Kyle Allen is Kyle Allen. I don't see him being successful at all against a Browns pass defense that has been solid this year. I mean, it's carried their defense because the run defense has not been good. I just don't see it this week for Brandon Cooks.
With Brandon Cooks, for me, I think it just to get to 9.6, that is so low. It is such a low number. It will only take one lucky throw one lucky throw from Kyle Allen to Brandon Cooks for a touchdown could
You're
pretty
telling me you
much.
trust Kyle Allen to make that throw?
I don't whatsoever. But what I'm saying is, just one lucky throw by Kyle Allen can get Brandon Cooks to 10 points, is what I'm trying to say, right? I don't trust him. Theoretically, I do not trust Kyle Allen to throw a 30-yard bomb to Brandon Cooks down the sideline and score a touchdown. What I do expect is Kyle Allen to pepper him with screen passes that will count in PPR leagues. And if that ends up being the case and Brandon Cooks gets, say, 5-10 yards a carry, it's basically a carry at that point. But if he gets 5 to 10 yards on each one, say he's targeted a good like 6-7 times, that could potentially hit the over. Again, we're talking like screen passes here. So it's either going to be that Kyle Allen throws a bunch of screen and like quick little slant routes to Brandon Cooks, or it's going to be the one lucky throw I mentioned earlier. Either way, the spread it's just too low. It's way too low for me. I have to go the over. I would never touch this man on my I never put him on my roster at all because it's just like there's no reason to. But 9.6 is incredibly low. I'm taking the over on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying because you're right. 9.6 is insanely low, but
it's insane. I
understand
Brandon Cooks
why
is
it's
not
so low,
that
though.
bad. It's just crazy.
No, he's not that bad. But Kyle Allen is certainly that bad.
He is bad. But that's why I'm saying Lovie Smith will tell him, hey, just throw screen passes and just do that, you know?
Enough talking about the Texans. It's gonna hurt me.
Yeah, no, it's hurting me. It's hurting me almost as much talking about the guy playing against the Texans. So
that's for sure.
Do not want to talk about him.
No Predator talk today.
No. But we are going to talk about Treylon Burks, the supposed heir apparent to A.J. Brown for the Titans, going against my Philadelphia Eagles, projected 10.1 points. Another somewhat low spread coming off of 2 big weeks. Jack, what do you think?
Yeah, and look, he got off to a really slow start this year. And, of course, he got injured, and then it took him some time to come back for that and get back in the swing of things. But these last couple of weeks, he's looked much more like the player the Titans drafted him to be, which is, like you said, that heir apparent to A.J. Brown. And I'm not saying that he's going to be A.J. Brown, but he seems like he's sort of on the way there. I mean, just based on his body type and his skill set and his more recent performances. And because of that, I know he's playing the Eagles this week, and that's definitely a tough matchup. But 10.1 feels disrespectful. I mean, he's put up 2 back-to-back very solid 15-plus point weeks. I think it was 18 and 17 and 17 in the last 2 weeks.
I literally have it up right now. I have it up right now.
And he's been getting 6+ targets in these games. I think I have to take the over here. I mean, based on his recent performances, I feel like this is the kind of thing that can be consistent. I think he's proven to be the best receiver for this team. And he looks like he's going to be Tannehill's go-to at least for the rest of this season and going into the future. So 10.1 feels low for a guy that's been playing very well. I'm going to take the over.
Look, in a football mind, right? I'm seeing the volume that he's been getting the ball at. He's getting, 6 and 8 targets these last 2 weeks, completed on 4 and 7 of those passes. That alone for PPR could probably get him over this number. But the Eagles fan in me is saying absolutely the under. And look, I know I'm biased, but I have one legitimate reason for it. I have a legitimate reason, and that's the quality of defenses he put those numbers up against. To put up 18.1 points, he played against the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers
against Jair Alexander.
Okay, against Jair Alexander, like that is it. And he hasn't been top of the top this year. He's been good, but he hasn't been.
It's Jair Alexander. That's a very solid cornerback.
I do not care. The Green Bay Packers defense as a whole is atrocious. And then he went against Cincinnati. Cincinnati is a better defense. I'll give them that, but they're not, top of the top right there. They're not up there with the likes of the Eagles and the Cowboys. They're probably like 2 of the top defenses right there.
I know you don't like when I say that.
No,
but they're up
no,
there.
no, no, no. Honestly, the Jets are probably a top 5 defense right now.
Top 3.
I can see the argument. I wouldn't say 3, but I will say 5. They're very good. But what I'm saying is, he had those games were not against top 10 defenses. Now you're facing arguably the second or best defense in the league, barring injuries. Right? They still have Darius Slay. They still have James Bradbury. The Eagles still have guys that can cover Treylon Burks, a rookie. And Tannehill is a fine quarterback, but I think he's going to struggle against a truly elite defense, especially getting Jordan Davis. I think there's going to be pressure up the middle anyway. Also Ndamukong Suh. I just think it's a bad matchup against this defense, so I'm taking the under for Treylon Burks. However, again, with the amount of targets he's getting, it wouldn't surprise me too much if he hit the over. But I'm just banking on the quality of the defense and how well they're going to play against him.
No, I see what you're saying. It's definitely like the toughest matchup that he's had so far since coming back from the injury.
Absolutely the toughest matchup. I'm looking at his schedule. He played the Giants, Buffalo, Vegas, Indianapolis, Denver, Green Bay, Cincinnati. This is far and away his hardest matchup.
Yeah, right. So I wouldn't be surprised. You're right if there's a bit of a dip, but I still think 10.1 is low. I still think that for what I think he's proven to be the best receiving option in this offense, and he's proven that Tannehill has proven that he likes him, that he's going to target him, and I think just because of that, 10.1 is too low, and he's going to get over it.
Yeah. Well, it is going to be interesting. I did mention Dallas as another elite defense. They play them Week 17 championship week, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be interesting.
For sure. Against Mr. Burnt Toast.
To be fair, Mr. Burnt Toast.
He's had a great season.
He's had a good season again. Well, really, he's had a good season, especially against Justin Jefferson, where he completely owned him, which is insane.
And you know what's really funny is ever since I started making those burnt toast jokes, he's gotten so much better.
That's insane. Of course. That's just how it works.
Right, of course.
All right.
Of course.
Now we are talking about probably the man of the week this past week in fantasy. Josh Jacobs didn't he put up like 40 points, like something absurd like that?
48.
How? Seriously, how? It's absolutely insane. I literally heard that last run of his would have been like RB11 by itself, which is insane. Like,
that's ridiculous.
Absolutely insane performance from Josh Jacobs. But coming off of his 48-point performance, ESPN has Josh Jacobs projected against the Chargers 24.1 points.
Damn. Jeez.
Jesus. That is a lot of points to be expecting from a guy coming off a career game. Jack, what do you think?
That's insane. I mean, 24.1 is insane. I know Jacobs has been incredible this season, and I mean, that's nothing against him. He deserves that respect from ESPN, but 24 points for Josh Jacobs is an insane ask. And you're saying that's his target. Like, you're telling me he needs to get over 24 points in this week's game to be considered exceeding expectations? I mean, that's wild to me on Josh Jacobs. And what's their matchup this week? They're playing the Chargers. That's right. So it's a Chargers defense has been a little bit squishy at times this year. I mean, they've been prone to giving up big plays. So I wouldn't actually be that surprised if Jacobs has another one of those weeks where he explodes and has an incredible week. But 24 seems ridiculous. You know what? Screw it. I'm taking the over. He's been. I honestly, I came into this thinking I was going to say under. I think it's a good matchup. The Chargers defense has been worse than expected this season, and Josh Jacobs has been awesome. So I know it's a really high ask. 24 points is a lot, and it's insane. But Jacobs has proven that he can do it. I'll take the over. Why not?
Wow. All right. Interesting. I'm going to bring it a bit back down to earth compared to you. Look,
I talked myself into that one.
Good for you. And I can see exactly why you did it too. This is a Chargers team that has not been good against the run this year. Josh Jacobs has had the best game of his entire career. However, that was a lightning in a bottle performance, and we have been fooled by this before. We were fooled with Damian Pierce saying that he was going to drop like 25 one week, like probably like a month or so. We were saying that he was going to drop like 25 because that was like an over under for him. And he didn't. He did not. He didn't come anywhere close. So I am just, being cautious, thinking this is like a lightning in a bottle performance. Do I think he'll get close? Absolutely. He will absolutely get close to this number. But over 24, no. This is an under for me. This is absolutely an under. He just, like, he's got the talent. He's got the skill. It's a great matchup, but it's just the fact that it's a lightning in a bottle type performance. It's very hard to repeat this kind of performance, especially in back-to-back weeks, to put up 40-plus points, like, let alone 24. Like, if people are expecting him to do as well as he did last week, they're delusional. But
Yeah.
20, just the bar set at 25, that's crazy.
No, the bar is set insanely high for sure. But
Insanely high. And
I
see why, but it's so high.
Difference between Jacobs and some of these some of these other guys that you were just talking about, Damian Pierce. Jacobs has done this the whole season. I mean, this was not like, obviously this was the best game of his career, the best game of his season.
Lightning in a bottle.
I mean, he was incredible. But it wasn't like it was completely out of nowhere. He's been putting up this incredible production the entire season. He's gone to over 24 points. I think that was at least his fourth time. I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but that was at least his fourth time doing it this season off the top of my head. I think he could totally do it again in a good matchup. Honestly, the last time they played the Chargers, I can't remember what he did, but I have a feeling he had a good game because the Chargers have been very weak against the run this season. I just feel like he can do it. I talked myself into it. I thought at first 24 was ridiculous, which it still feels ridiculous, but
it is ridiculous.
He's given me no reason to doubt him this season. And every time I have, he's proven me wrong. So I'm going to go with the over.
All right, fair enough. I mean, to be fair, I have not experienced the Josh Jacobs renaissance. I don't have him on any of my teams this year.
Me neither. I wish I did.
I wish I did too. It would have been great. It would have been great on a few teams of mine. Especially the ones where I drafted Jonathan Taylor and Najee Harris. Thanks. But moving on to our I have like a burp stuck. Oh, there we go.
Oh my
literally
God.
Just like stuck. It was like stuck. So weird.
That's going on our Pass the Rock blooper reel at the end of the year.
Oh, great. Finally, on our over-under, we have Dalton Schultz, the tight end for the Dallas Cowboys, going against the Indianapolis Colts, projected at 9.2 points per game. Jack, what do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, 9.2 feels a little disrespectful for Dalton Schultz, honestly. I mean, since he's come back from his injury, he's been a top 10 tight end in fantasy. He's been getting around or over that 9.2 pretty consistently every week. And he's playing a Colts defense that has not been that impressive. I think it's a pretty easy over, honestly. I don't have to think about it that hard. He's a guy that I'd be starting in most of my leagues. I'd be starting him over most other tight ends. That's a pretty simple over for me.
Oh, no, I'm 100% with you. This Colts team finally lost under Jeff Saturday. They did not look that good against the Steelers. I mean, your Steelers, who you should know are a bad team unless you keep drinking the Kool-Aid. Stop drinking the Kool-Aid, Jack. They're not doing anything. But regardless, Colts defense, nothing inspiring coming against a Steelers team where Kenny Pickett did look good. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But Dak Prescott is a hell of a lot better. Dalton Schultz is a hell of a lot better.
Whoa, don't disrespect Kenny like that.
Oh, come on. Oh, stop it. Dak Prescott is still a hell of a lot better than Kenny Pickett. And I'm going to tell you, Jalen Hurts is a hell of a lot better than Dak Prescott right now.
If you're saying somewhat nice things about a Cowboy, then it must be true.
No. Like I'm only saying it because I know that Jalen Hurts is still so much better than Dak right now. So, look. I mean, Dak just threw 2 interceptions on Thanksgiving. Okay, like I'm not trying to hype up Dak all of a sudden. I'm just saying he used Dalton Schultz a lot that game. Dalton Schultz, I think he had a multi-touchdown game. They had 2 touchdowns that game. I don't see that production really going anywhere. I think 9 is a low bar. I think he'll easily get around 12, 13 points just based off of the production that the Cowboys have been doing with him. So this is a very easy over for me. Dalton Schultz, easily projected, higher than that, easily. But moving on to our final segment, Team of the Week. If we could build a fantasy roster with one team's roster, who would it be? Jack, who are you picking this week?
Yeah, well, with this one, I have a message for the Chicago Bears, and that is that the Green Bay Packers still own you. And it doesn't matter whether or not Aaron Rodgers is starting at quarterback for them, because I don't think he will be this week. I honestly really think it will be Jordan Love, because Rodgers has been banged up. There have been the rumors the Packers are looking to see what they have in Jordan Love. And no matter who the quarterback is, it doesn't matter. The Green Bay Packers own the Chicago Bears. And that is not to mention that this Bears defense has not been good whatsoever this season. I mean, they've been in these shootout games that Justin Fields has been doing everything in his power to keep them in, and the defense still gives up 35 points and finds a way to lose because they're that bad. I don't care who's at quarterback. I think either one of them will have a good game against the Bears. I think Aaron Jones is due for a great game. I think Christian Watson, who's been out of his mind recently, could have another one of his great performances. Even Alan Lazard, who I am not a big fan of, I think could benefit from a terrible Bears defense and have a startable performance. The Packers are my team of the week, and they own the Chicago Bears.
Look, this might be a bit of a hot take, but I think I would be way more confident in this Packers team if Jordan Love was starting, like definitively.
Yeah.
I'm way more confident in that team. Like watching him on Sunday Night Football, Jordan Love was near perfect. The one throw that he missed was a really good idea to throw it in the end zone, right to the player. It just wasn't the perfect placement. Other than that, every single throw he made was a dart, like a straight up dart to his receiver, resulting in a Christian Watson touchdown. He found the right route, right place, right time. But every single ball that he threw looked really good. So I would be really like this would be a great coming out party for Jordan Love against the Chicago Bears. I'd watch that game 100%. I want to see that. I want to see Jordan Love torch the Bears. That'd be awesome.
The one thing I do have to say for Aaron Rodgers, though, if this is his last time playing the Bears in a Packers uniform, I'm here for one more Aaron Rodgers the Bears moment. I am here for it.
No,
if this is the last time we see Rodgers playing them in a Packers uniform, I'm here for it.
No, I'm the same way. I'm the exact same way. It's it's gotta be Aaron Rodgers playing this game. But if it's like a blowout at halftime, I want Jordan Love starting the second half. I really just want to see Jordan Love play against this Bears team, because we all know after that Sunday Night Football performance, he has potential. He could really be the next guy that none of us thought he would be. We're literally seeing. Well, some of us probably did, but I'm saying, from Favre to Rodgers, we're now seeing Rodgers to Love actually work, which is crazy. None of us thought that a year or two ago. So who knows?
It'll be fun either way. I think either way, the Packers. Will be very good against.
This could be a very fun game. Again, Justin Fields, if he's healthy, this will be a fun game.
Yeah,
period.
That'll be 40-40.
Yeah, no. The Packers win 38-35.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I can totally see that. But my team of the week is a little less based on previous years and stereotypes, and a little more based on just pure offensive production and how bad this other team is. I'm going with the Seattle Seahawks. They have a 4-headed offensive monster in Geno Smith, DK Metcalf, Kenneth Walker III, and Tyler Lockett. The Rams defense has been absolutely atrocious. Jalen Ramsey has been absolutely trash this year. He's been awful. Not to mention that they're actually missing Aaron Donald this week, which always sucks when you see an injury, but that was the only thing. He was the only guy preventing Geno from having probably a really good game against this Rams team. This Rams team sucks on both sides of the ball too. I wouldn't be surprised if Tariq Woolen was able to get like an interception this game. I feel like the Seattle defense, while not amazing, they have good corners, they have a good secondary. They can definitely do stuff against Bryce Perkins. Hell, I can even see a pick six happening at this point, just because this Rams team is so horrible. They are the worst. I've never seen a team go from Super Bowl to absolute basement of the league this quickly.
Well,
never seen it.
I mean, with Bryce Perkins at quarterback, I think any defense can do anything against Bryce Perkins. I mean, put my Wisconsin Badgers defense against Bryce Perkins, and I think we could do some damage.
Put the West Virginia Mountaineers secondary against Bryce Perkins, and I think then you have a pretty fair matchup. Because just straight up, the West Virginia secondary, they were all right this year, but they weren't amazing. But it's okay. It's okay because then Bryce Perkins would have a really good matchup, and we'd be watching that game, repeatedly. In all seriousness, though, Bryce Perkins just doing what he can to pass the time with Matt Stafford out. I don't blame him. Nothing against him. I think he's fine. It's just he's just there to get through the weeks, and it's not going to be pretty.
You can't expect him to be any better than he's been.
No, I can't, but I hope someday maybe he is. You never know with these guys.
Yeah.
You always hope for a guy to be better. You always hope for it. But
yeah.
With that being said, that brings an end to our Week 13 fantasy show. We will see you all next week when we're really going to be getting into the playoff push. You really should start prepping for your playoffs come next week, because I mean, some leagues start as soon as week 14, week 15. So yeah, all right.